Deku and Ochako finally have their conversation in the newest chapter of MHA. Chapter 429 is finally out. Let's go through the full thing. So the chapter begins with some narration from this random little boy, and he says that his entire family hates him because of his quirk. They just think his quirk is weird because it's not a part of their genetics or their family lineage. So what they did is they locked him up in a basement and trapped him there. And because he did not stop screaming and crying and yelling, they sewed his face together. And the only way he escaped is because of the past war that just happened. He has gone through so much hardship in his life so far, and when he sees everybody smiling, he does not understand why they are doing that. When he feels sad and at his lowest, everybody else is smiling, and you see right here, he's pretty messed up. And then we cut to Ochako, and she says she's always loved seeing people happy, and that's why she became a hero. And she's constantly thinking about Toga, and she says the reason she's alive is because Toga died. But then Deku pulls up, and he says he's been looking for her. And she says, "Why are you here?" And he says that I had a good feeling you were here. He says, "After all, this is where we had our important talk." And she says, "That's not what I meant." She says, "Like I said, I was going home. Why would you pull up here?" And he said, "I had a gut feeling that you were here." And she says, "Why? I don't really want to be seen right now." And he says, "I have to show you something first." And he says, "This is how it's always been with you, Uraraka." He says, "Ever since the entrance exam, you've always prioritized people over yourself. It's how it's always been." He says, "I'm always getting saved by you. You are my hero, but I don't want to depend on your strength." And he says holding someone's hand can put your heart at ease. And then Uraraka starts letting it all out, and she says Himiko died for her. And she says exactly what happens, that she got stabbed, and the only way she could be saved is by Toga using her blood to save her. She says if she only realized sooner, like if they were friends when they were kids, maybe she could have changed something. And Deku says he's feeling the same way about Tenko, Shigaraki, and he's saying that All For One said these things. That even though the battle's over, things are not going to go back to normal, and he has a thorny path ahead of him. And Deku says, even so, if we keep on reaching our hands out to people, even if it's none of our business, maybe that. Then they get cut off by the class, they pull up and ruin their moment. They're like, "Hey guys." They're worried about Uraraka too, but they just ruined the moment, but they're here. Tsuyu says, "I was waiting for you to open up. You can tell me anything that you're feeling." Deku looks at his hand and he sees the ember and he just does this. And then Bakugo asks if the ember is good, but he says, "Yes, it is." Then everybody in the class is saying, "What do you mean by embers?" And they say, "Wait, why didn't you tell us?" And they just know that Deku's gonna lose his quirk eventually. He says, "One for all is completed, the power that was brought together by the bravery of many." Then we see the students and we see that Monoma got a statue for him. I guess they're celebrating his bravery in the battle. And then we go to Aoyama's party and we see Eri with Jiro. They're having their party and Eri is singing and they're saying, "Now if we could create something of our own." And then we see All Might talking to Hawks and they're talking about redoing the hero system and adding civilian heroes. Like civilians helped out a lot during the war. They basically want to create a civilian honorary hero position. Basically civilians can become heroes and help out. And Hawks just wants to do an update to the whole entire hero system. Hawks says the greatest can't be everywhere, so let's create a system where everybody is the greatest. We see this boy from earlier in the chapter and he says, "Why am I the only one too?" He walks out in despair and it looks like he's about to do something. And then the granny who turned a blind eye to Shigaraki says, like if he didn't turn a blind eye to him, none of this would have happened. She says that day Izuku Midoriya showed us something. Instead of rooting for him, we also need to do something and help out. What people felt that day is that we were just gonna get stronger. She says, "So it's fine now, Granny is here," and he starts to cry. This is just wholesome as hell. And then we see Deku and Ochako, and it looks like they go up to this little kid and they're being heroes. And Hawk says a society where heroes have tons of time to spare. I really hope Deku and Ochako go up to this little boy because it really looks like he needs help. And I think it'll be a great conclusion for both of their characters. But yeah, guys, it was a good chapter overall, just super wholesome in my opinion. We're not going to get everything expanded in these final chapters. I wish we could, but I think we're getting a sequel series. This was a great chapter and there's a lot more to talk about, but this is the video, guys. Let me know what you think of this chapter.